try to explain today what it is, so
This was
you
in our book?
understand. It wasn't.
Okay.
It's pegged on it already. Alright, excuse me. Alright, so this chart is obviously, as you can tell, for 30-year mortgages, and the idea what it's going to calculate is going to tell you what your monthly payments are. And it's supposed to be really quick. I remember when I was doing my mortgage for my house at the time, the bank handed me a sheet like this. I probably could go find it. It's probably in the paperwork, but they handed me a sheet and it had the exact numbers like this. Now this one's older. It's using, it doesn't have like decimals. It's just kind of rounding. It's not super accurate. That's why I didn't want you to use it. Because I wanted you to use as many decimal places as possible for that assignment. And as you can tell, like all these numbers are like nice and clean. They have numbers like 60,000 and 70,000. Well, when you're doing a mortgage on a home, you may not have a pretty number like this. It might be like 83,970. And so now we have to figure out what the monthly payments are. But the chart they gave me looks something like this, and I didn't want you to use it just because of it's not super accurate. It's close. And so here's how this thing works. One of your problems could say that maybe you're going to have a $60,000 home. Okay, $60,000. That's the mortgage or the principal that you're going to be borrowing, right? And the idea is that all you have to know is, we're going 30 years. That there's no option there. This chart is just for 30 years. The bank provides you a different charge depending on the year. And then the idea is that you have to pick a percent. Let's say we're picking 9%. I'm going to pick a different number than the one that's circled in your book. This is a picture of the book. And we're picking this number right here. Now, how I know that? It's 9%, $60,000, right? That number is your monthly payment. So your monthly payment on this case would be $483. That's the number it's spitting out automatically. Now, why that's important? From that number, I can tell you what you're going to pay in the long run. I can tell you what your the entire mortgage will cost you over 30 years. Because if you're paying this every single month for 30 years, you can get your total, right? So here's the number, right? Taking $60,000, we're taking that times, or sorry, not 60,000, 483. Taking 483, we're gonna take it times 12 months because you're paying it for every month of the year, and we're doing this for 30 years. So your total mortgage that you're paying, if I take this times 12 times 30, and again, why 30 is this. This tells me that my house is $173,880. That's the total that I'm paying for that home. Does that make sense? So that means, the interest that I'm paying on that home is like $113,000. Because the house we agreed to was 60. But over the long run, I'm paying way more than that. And that was one of your questions, like how much extra are you paying? You take whatever your total was from the formula you guys had to use, you subtract what the original agreement price was, and this is what we have. This is the extra money you're paying the bank. Does that make sense, like how you use those charts? It's like one of those things, like when I was doing my mortgage, I never wanted to have my number, I didn't want to have a percent like 9% or 10%. I was lucky enough I got mine for 3.4, or 3.5, which I thought was really good. That was a good percent at the time. But you saw them, like my numbers when we did them the other day, like I was paying, I think it was close to this number in the long run. It was really close to 170, but that's still a lot of money. Like overall, I put a big down payment on the home to ensure that I wasn't paying too much extra. But it's one of those things, like unless you see a chart like this and you know how to use it, it's one of those things, like some people could just see this in front of them and go, oh, yeah, I don't even know what that means. It's just, these are monthly payments, I figure out what you're gonna pay total and how to compare it to the original number. Okay, does that make sense? It was in the book, I thought I'd better explain it. Now, the second chart they had in the book was this one. Okay, let me go up. This is the second chart. I think it was on the page 91. It was like the page before that. Here's the second chart. Again, apologies for the quality. I just literally took a photo with a phone. It's not the current phone. This was like a few years ago when I took this photo. Probably should update it. This is based on if you know how many years your mortgage is. Because this chart actually gives you multiple mortgage years. You can do a 15-year loan up to a 40-year loan. It didn't matter, you can pick any of these. And these are the options that banks give you. I didn't have the option when we went to the bank to do 35 and 40. The house we were buying didn't warrant that. They didn't want to extend out too far. And it also comes down to age. They didn't want to go out that far because I was already older. So they had these were out. But what these numbers are, this is based on per $1,000 that you're spending on your mortgage. So let's say, I'm going to go back to that previous example we were just doing. Let's say that the idea is that I'm going to do a $60,000 home. Okay, $60,000 home. That's the mortgage I want to. That's the mortgage I want to get. And I'm going to go for 20 years. I'm not going to go the 30-year loan. I'm going to go a 20-year loan. And we're going to go the 9% again. We're going to stick with that same number I just did a little bit ago. Okay, how you use this chart. This is your monthly payments. This chart will give you your monthly payments per $1,000 you're borrowing. So if I'm doing a $60,000 home, that means I'm doing 60 monthly payments, right, of $1,000, right? So that's the idea. So that's what 60 is, because 60 and 1,000 makes 60,000. So I find 20 years, I find my percent, and I go find the number that's associated with it. So it's that number right there, 9% for 20 years. So what this number is you take how many thousands you had. So obviously this is based on per $1,000. So I'm doing 60 thousands, right? And you're going to take this number times 9. That's the number that's on my chart, the 9.0. And what this will give you, if I do this correctly, right? This is your monthly payment, automatically. It spits out the monthly payment when you take the 60 times the number that's on there. Now, if I did an $80,000 home, okay, if I did an $80,000 home, well, I have 80,000s that I'm borrowing, and I take that times the 9, right, the 9. Now, it's not 9%, it's the 9 that's actually on the chart. So if I chose, let's say I chose 10% instead, 10%, then you gotta go find the chart on the board. So if I this is 10%, this is the number I'm using. So I'm using the 9.65%. I'm using that number. So I'm going to take my 80,000 times 9.6. 65, sorry. 65. And that will give me what my monthly payment is. Okay, it just spits out numbers automatically. I remember when we were going through the mortgage for our home, the banks were providing us all these charts. I knew what to do with them. My wife had no idea. She just never had to do this before. I knew it because of this class, but it's one of those things like, unless you understand what the chart's spitting out, it's kind of difficult to see that. Now, why they provide you a chart like that, it's really nice to see what would the difference in like a 20-year loan versus a 30-year loan be, right? Because obviously if I took 80,000, let's say my home was 80,000, because that's what it was roughly 83 at the time. So 80,000 times 9.65, this is $772 payment, right? That's a lot of money. Maybe you can't afford that. So then you go, okay, instead of a 20-year, let's go 30-year loan. Let's go a 30-year loan instead. And this chart will help you instantly see, without having to do any weird calculations, it'll let you instantly see what your new payment is going to be. So 9.65 times 80 will now, since I'm doing a 30-year loan, now I'm doing my $80,000 home times 8.78. And so if I do that, so 80 times 8.78, now my payment is 702.4. So do you see I've already saved a bunch of money. I already saved like $70 by just switching to a different year. Now that over the long run that adds up, because you're paying $70 less per month every month for an entire year for 30 years. But in the long run, you're actually paying a lot more money for the home. If that makes sense. Because obviously this is what I'm paying per month, right? If this is 20 years, I take 772 times 12, because I'm paying that every month for 20 years. That means the home that I'm buying for a 20-year loan is going to cost me $185,280. But if I did a 30-year loan, this one's a 30-year times 12 times 30. Now look at the difference in price. Look at the difference. You're seeing it right in front of you. This is 20 years paying off my home. This is 30 years paying off my home. And this is the numbers you need to like realistically look at. I could have saved a lot of money by paying off my home earlier. But actually, what is that? 70 grand in the long run? It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Almost the cost of the house.
Huh?
Almost the cost of the house.
Almost cost the house. That's a great way to put it. So that's why when you take out a mortgage or you take out a car loan or you do student loans, that's the reason why I'm paying my student loans off early. I'm trying to pay more per month because I know in the long run that if I can pay it off earlier, I'm paying less. Okay,
Can you pay a mortgage off early?
Yeah, and certain banks, like, it depends on your bank, they might give you a charge for paying it off too early. Clearly, Bank of Trust doesn't do anything, that's who we went with for ours, and they warned us up front, like, there's no fee to pay it off early. Like, let's say we're down to like the last 10,000 and we've saved money and we just want to pay it off all at once, you can just do that. And you'll save a ton of money because you'll save all that money that you would have paid in monthly payments. So, yeah, and that's a smart thing to do. Like, try to save up, try to make like big chunks. I try to do that with my student loans. I'm paying like extra that I don't need to because I need to pay it off. Like, because student loans, like, they're outrageous. You saw my numbers for student loans. I did those, the other week up here. It was a crazy number, right? So I'm always trying to pay it off earlier because it does save me money in the long run. So, all right, questions with any of that stuff? I thought, because some people brought up yesterday, they're like, do we have to use this? No, I want you to use just the formula that I provided you, that compound interest formula, plugging in 12s, plugging in 30s. You have to use 30s for almost everything, unless the problem told you otherwise. Go through there. You have the rest of the time today to work on your page 89, 91 stuff. That's due Friday, I believe. That's why I said it was due. So you have plenty of time. I think I had a couple turn in yesterday. So keep working on it. The rest of the time is yours. So pretty easy today. All right.